Hello, I'm Eric Dane, Director at Growing IQ. This summer with the GIQ camp offered by Growing IQ and SkyEst, we're bringing the mindset of Silicon Valley to you. The way of thinking that built Apple, Tesla, Google, and every innovator who changed the world. Here in Silicon Valley, success doesn't come from memorizing formulas. It comes from asking better questions, testing ideas, and making decisions based on insight, not instinct. And that's exactly what this camp is about, helping students understand how to think, reason, and make sense of a world overflowing with information. Because in every field, business, science, and sports, decisions today are guided by data. But here's the truth. Data doesn't make decisions. People do. The advantage isn't in having data, it's in interpreting it, finding patterns, weighing trade-offs, and making confident, evidence-based choices. That's the kind of thinking Silicon Valley thrives on, and it's what we're bringing to students this summer. At school, students often are taught what to think. At GIQ Camp, we focus on teaching them how to think, how to reason, question, and decide.
When we talk about data science, we're not talking about endless calculations. We're talking about the science of decisions, understanding how information shapes strategy, how patterns reveal opportunity, and how evidence drives innovation. Because the future doesn't reward memorization, it rewards thinkers, people who can analyze, communicate, adapt, and collaborate. These are the 21st century skills that matter most: critical thinking, asking better questions and testing ideas, creativity, connecting logic with imagination to design new solutions, collaboration, building ideas through dialogue and teamwork, as well as communication, explaining reasoning clearly and confidently.
That's what our students practice every day. They learn to use logic and data, not just to find answers, but to make sense of the world around them.
At its core, data science is really decision science, the ability to interpret information and use it wisely. It's the same skill set that drives innovation across Silicon Valley, and this summer, we're bringing that mindset directly to your child. In data science, students learn that numbers are only the beginning. The real skill is asking the right question. What story does this information tell me? What can I decide from what I see? Students will design simple investigations, collect or simulate data, and most importantly, interpret what it means. Because the future doesn't belong to those who just have data, it belongs to those who can translate information into insight and action. Here, data becomes a tool for reasoning, helping students think more deeply, make smarter choices, and see how logic connects to the real world.
Sports are the perfect lab for logic. In sports science, students don't just play the game, they run it. They step into the role of a general manager, using real-world data to make strategic decisions. Who should start? When do you substitute? Which player actually makes the biggest impact, not just the flashiest one?
We will give students scenarios built from real performance data, points scored, accuracy rates, efficiency ratings, and challenge them to build their own models for decision making. Students will discover that sports are filled with trade-offs and probabilities. A player who scores more might also miss more. A lineup that looks strong on paper may not fit together in practice. Sometimes the smartest move isn't the most obvious one. Through these challenges, students learn how data becomes a lens for leadership, a way to balance logic with intuition, numbers with judgment, and analysis with creativity. It's not about winning the game, it's about understanding how the game works. By the end of the week, students will see that being good at math isn't about solving problems on paper. It's about using numbers to make better decisions in the real world.
They're not just athletes in this lab, they're strategists, and they'll never look at sports the same way again. In entrepreneurial logic, students step into the real world, not as kids, but as decision makers. We give them a challenge every young innovator loves. You're running your own boba truck.
Your team has to decide everything: what products to offer, how to price them, where to set up shop, how to advertise, and how to respond when the market changes. You'll have data to analyze: customer demand, ingredient costs, profit margins, and you'll have to make the hard calls that every entrepreneur faces. Then, just when you think you've got it all figured out, we introduce real-world shocks. Maybe an ingredient shortage hits. Maybe the weather changes. Maybe a new competitor shows up across the street. Now your team has to adapt, rethink their marketing, reprice their drinks, and redesign their strategy. This is where data meets decision making. Students learn to ask, what do the numbers really tell us? What should we change and why? How do we balance creativity with logic?
It's not about selling boba, it's about learning how to think, to take information, make sense of it, and lead with logic, creativity, and confidence. By the end of the week, every student will understand what it really means to be an entrepreneur. Not just someone who starts a business, but someone who can analyze, adapt, and act when the world shifts. At GIQ Camp, learning doesn't mean sitting still and being told what to do. It means doing, questioning, and thinking out loud. We build every lesson around the same cycle used by innovators everywhere: observe, hypothesize, test, reflect, and improve.
Students start each challenge with a question, not an answer. Instead of saying, here's the rule, we ask, what do you notice? What might happen if? Students form ideas, test them, fail forward, and refine. That's where real understanding happens, in the productive struggle between what you think you know and what you're still figuring out. Every activity is designed for teamwork and dialogue. Students must justify their reasoning, listen to others, and adjust their thinking, the same habits used by engineers, designers, and entrepreneurs across Silicon Valley. By articulating their logic, they strengthen both their math and their voice.
We also teach students to think about their thinking. After each challenge, they pause and ask, what assumptions did we make? What did the data actually tell us? And what would we do differently next time? That reflection turns isolated lessons into lifelong skills: curiosity, resilience, and intellectual humility.
The GIQ method is about a learning environment built on exploration instead of memorization, dialogue instead of lecture, and iteration instead of perfection. It's how real innovators learn, and it's why GIQ students grow into confident problem solvers ready for the challenges of the 21st century.
So when parents ask, what will my child actually learn at GIQ Camp? The answer is simple. They'll learn to think like a creator, reason like a scientist, and communicate like a leader. That's the GIQ way.